Welcome to the Women in Vinyl podcast with Jen DiEugenio, founder of Women in Vinyl, and contributor Robin Raymond. This podcast facilitates conversations with those working in the vinyl record industry to educate, demystify, and diversify the vinyl community.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 18 of the Women in Vinyl podcast. Today we're talking to Maria Rice, mastering extraordinaire at Peerless Mastering, whose concentration is in restoration, working with labels like Numero Group. She's also worked the likes of Superchunk and Magnetic Fields to remastering Blondie's Heart of Glass. She's an active member of the Recording Academy, Audio Engineering Society, the Women's Audio Mission, and more. As always, be sure to listen to the end. We've got some great new sponsors that also have exciting offers for you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Maria.
Yeah, it's great to meet you guys. Well, I know Jen, but Robin, it's great to meet you.
Hi, that's me. Yeah, I mean, huge fan of Peerless Mastering. Like, holy, you guys are OGs, man.
It's always good to know there's other people down the line that are like they're seeing those cool little things, and we're seeing your cool little things.
Oh yeah.
And you know, it's actually just hard to explain what mastering is, and I bet like from the vinyl perspective, it's you have a different explanation, and then from our perspective, well, I don't know. I still don't know exactly how to like encapsulate it for most people.
Right. For most people, I just say it's optimization for format. And I'm like, there's different sauce that you put on every single version to make it sound the best in whatever way you're going to listen to it. And that's all they really need to know. That seems to pacify the masses. Anyway.
Yeah. And then they can ask follow-up questions.
Yeah. But I mean, you do this other crazy, amazing thing that I totally have a bent for, and I'm trying to figure out how to worm my way into it, like archiving and restoration too, because I just want to go way back in the Wayback Machine and just live way back, and never see digital stuff again. So.
Unfortunately, I think that's kind of the problem is, the people who do like live it back in the archive rooms, you kind of have to like, your eyes are always glued to a computer because you're digitizing.
Right.
And if you can't do that, then you probably stop working. So, yeah.
I mean, tape is always one of those things that I think is a really misunderstood format, especially when it comes to reel and like 1/4-inch tapes and 2-inch tapes, because I feel like everybody has seen those things and they're like, ooh, it seems very much like the Frankenstein-y part where you're just like, oh wow, definitely don't want to touch the moving parts there because there's too many things that could go wrong. So I know I'm always like hands in pockets when I'm around tape machines.
I'm the same way actually with, we have like in the B room where we usually do like tape transfers of like a modified MCI tape machine, and it's like Frankenstein is kind of the word for it. Like it's like something doesn't sound right, and then you have to think, okay, is it because of the program material on the tape, or is it because there's something that needs to be like wiggled? And a lot of times something has to be wiggled, and then it's like I get other people to weigh in on it, and I get like Jeff, the studio owner, to come in because he commissioned this thing, and he's like, oh no, all you have to do is just like unplug this and plug it back in. Now it works. Like
that's what you always need to do. Or like the old video games where you just like blow on it.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you pull out this card and then you wiggle this cable and then you take this out. It's
all while you're standing on one foot and patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time.
And gotta meditate first. And then it's like, all right, this is why it takes, you want to explain to a client, this is why it took 4 hours to transfer like a half hour of tape
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the gag right there, is that like real time, REAL, doesn't always equal REETAL, like time. You know what I mean? Like
It's like
those are not the same.
it's like as bad as like football time.
Oh, perfect analogy. Trying to watch a basketball game or a football game, real time? No.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm halfway through. Yeah. And they'll be like, so you're almost done. I'm like, no, I mean like, maybe 3 more hours.
I'll be done when I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah. It's really hard to schedule like social things when you have to do stuff like that. It's like, it's gonna happen. What's gonna happen is gonna happen.
Well, yeah. And speaking of social things, I mean, maybe this is because of like COVID and the pandemic, but like this situation, podcast panel thing, is kind of one of the only social kind of things that I get to do. But you guys met last night on a panel.
Yeah.
So I mean, what project brought you guys onto that panel together?
Yeah, we were working on tickets for Doomsday, which was a Now Again release that's coming out for Record Store Day. Maria, you restored some parts of it?
I don't think I did any restoration on that, but I was Jason Dittner that was kind of his panel, and we are co-chairs for the archiving track for AES. So he's like, well, you can come on and talk about like actual like stuff you do for digital restoration and cleaning records and that sort of thing. Just because like he did the restoration and stuff for that project, but his process and mine are very different. In fact, I'm not really entirely sure what his is, and everyone's got the secret sauce thing.
Yeah.
But
what is your process? Because I think when people think of restoration, I mean, I don't know if they're thinking tape or digital files. Like, what are you usually presented with, and how do you start a project like this?
So usually, well, lately, we'll be presented with digital files that were transferred elsewhere, and then or we will do the transfer ourselves. Sometimes, a lot of times, especially with vinyl, that's preferable because we love our VPI turntable, and it just catches everything. But I guess if we start with the digital file, the process is I have a formulaic process. That's where I kind of get into like the robot mode. A couple go-to tools are cedar restoration tools. So a couple of passes: declick, decrackle. You can also do declickle version, and usually that's about all you need. But then and then we do like a round of mastering. That's if it's like a something historic, it's kind of like you're just you're restoring it to its like what it should sound like based on what was presented, and just like kind of removing things that are distracting. Noise is always part of the thing, and it's good to embrace the noise. So you just kind of have to gauge at what point is it taking away from the original source. And so there's a bit of denoising. Usually actually kind of stay away from that for like that auto denoise type stuff. If we can take care of it with like mid-side EQ or any other like secret sauce things. And and then I go automatic like digital cleanup process, then a mastering process, then back into the digital cleanup where I do it manually and go through and listen carefully. It's basically like a QC, and retouch aberrations and clicks and pops, and and if sometimes there might be something problematic like a buzz or something, so you just kind of like take care of those things as they come up.
Right.
So and heads and tails and tops and tops and ends. Making fades and then
working a lot in outboard gear or a lot more in plug-in land with that.
For the restoration stuff, it's plug-in land, so it's cedar restoration tools, isotope, and that's every now and then I'll like try something interesting and cool. Like I think there's this capstan plugin that's supposed to help with like WoW and Flutter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but usually I just try to stick with as little process as possible, and that a lot of that comes from, when you do the transfer yourself, washing the record.
Right.
Just like, getting that stuff off the physical. Yeah.
What's your go-to for a record bath? And is there different, like, I mean, of course there's a difference, but what are the subtle differences between like washing a shellac versus washing something like a PVC record, like
an old 45?
Yeah. So our go-to right now is a VPI record cleaner, and that's like a big box with a vacuum in it, and the hose. There's like you wash the record, and the vacuum spins around, and there's hoses off the washing fluid. What I use Pure 2, and that's it's like a detergent based record cleaner for your typical like vinyl 45s, LPs, and there's a bit of alcohol in it. And then for something like an acetate, the process a little bit more careful, especially if it's old. But we will use for washing Pure 1, which I think is just like same sort of a detergent in the distilled water without the alcohol. So it's fairly gentle. It's like a fancy soap and water and a toothbrush basically.
And they're available from VPI.
Yep.
They're amazing.
You could get them from
a little pricey, but
but you don't have to replace it very often. So
I just ask because I have a burgeoning. I mean, I have a giant collection of 78s and like old shellacs. And my mom, everybody shout out to the best mom ever. She found this like auction where there's like a bitchin' old Victrola gramophone situation with like 150 78s. And she was like, I bought you this for your birthday. And she's literally like 2,000 miles away. So it's just like at our farm. And she's been like taking photos of the labels and like doing her little like archiving project just to show me what
I keep putting the VPI cleaner on my Christmas list. I'm like, please just get me this. It's like the big thing. Just,
Totally.
I should probably clarify. So the cleaning fluid, the Pure 1 and Pure 2 is by Nitty Gritty, and you can get that on Amazon.
Awesome.
So
I'll link that in the show notes because people are always asking us for tips and tricks about cleaning records and stuff. So.
When you are given physical media, is it most typically like 45s, or are you getting acetates or 78s?
It's usually 45s and 12-inch records, and it's typically for like a historical project where like that's the only source, or that's the cleanest source of the material. Like maybe the tapes were lost, or they're just sometimes we'll get a tape and the vinyl version, and the vinyl version somehow sounds better. It just depends on what happened through the years. So usually that I rarely like get acetate anymore. And 78s, I actually have kind of like the Victrola collection myself, and that's amazing. I'm probably the only one who like is doing those. Although every now and then somebody will send one in. So it's.
Do people give you a backstory when they're getting you to do stuff?
Sometimes, like especially if it's a personal project. Like I can, if I was in the studio right now, I could pick it up. There was a person on the West Coast whose grandmother was turning 100, like in the next week. And she was a singer, and she had, her voice recorded on a, metal recording disc, just one side. And, so that was the story, and he sent it in, and I'm like, oh, please, like make sure I can like get her voice out of this and make it sound intelligible, because she hadn't heard that in probably since it was made. So it's kind of crazy. So of course there was a lot of surface noise, but her voice just still, it came through pretty clearly. And we just sent back digital files, and he played it for her birthday celebration, her 100th, and he said like the room was in tears, and like that's a story.
That's
and
awesome.
yeah, and there's a couple other ones that are kind of like that, like I found this in the attic, I'd like to clean it up for a gift. So those are the cool things. And a lot of times I gotta say, they end up just leaving the stuff in the studio, and they're just like satisfied to have the digital files. So I'm like, okay, so now I have this little collection of old recording discs.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If anyone wants them back, they are welcome to have them. But otherwise, they're safe in a climate controlled environment. So.
Well, that's like, Robin, I think you sent me that article about them finding the old Native American files or restoring those. That was really amazing too.
Yeah, there's some like really cool archiving restoration type projects that are going on, and I think
I think people are more cognizant of the need for tangible artifacts, which is why like sometimes I'll hear some indie thing that I think is cool, and like it's like, okay, I either have to buy all of the waves or I get this cassette tape, which like, what am I gonna do with? But it's pretty cool. But yeah.
Are you feeling the same kind of pressure for turn times and demand at your phase of the process?
Sometimes, like we've had some projects that they were like, okay, we're going to ship you a bunch of these assets, but it doesn't have to be, we don't really need to get going on it until December. And then, a couple of weeks later, they're like, hey, we need to, can we have this in 3 weeks? Yeah, so that has happened a few times. So yes, the answer is yes. and it's all due to just getting in that queue for the vinyl release. So
are there any trends that you're seeing with audio and things that are coming into you? Like, I'm seeing a ton of reissues, which I think is why this is interesting, because people who are doing what you're doing may be starting out that process, but like things from the archives, like I was mentioning last night, I was doing the Smashing Pumpkins thing, and that was like a from the archives. And so I'm curious if you're seeing any sort of trends on your side.
Well, we've always been doing a lot of reissue work for one client in particular, the Numero Group. It's based out in Chicago, and record collectors all know and love the Numero Group. And so then, occasionally, then we will get projects that are, similar to that. But trends in that department. I don't know. The thing that I had noticed, which is really pandemic related, I think, is just getting a lot of singles, and a lot just, and like singles that are going to be pressed to 45 singles, and and just really quick, if you saved until you had like 12 or 10 songs. I think 12 songs is too much for a record, by the way. Just do the best stuff. So like maybe 9 songs, for mastering, it's much, the rate goes down considerably, but it's like, we're in our house, we're making this music, we just want to get out there. And, so I feel like there are a lot of more like projects that are made with love, and just for the love of music and connecting with other people. So
Totally.
Yeah, that's a thing I noticed.
I think one thing from last night when we were talking about like just projects that we've worked on, you mentioned one that you had been excited to work on, and you said, you never thought that you would be sitting here. So how did you actually get into all of this?
Yeah, as Piper likes to say, nobody ever really plans to be a mastering engineer. So I started as, I wanted to be a classical concert pianist. And
awesome.
Then I got into like, electronic music DJ scene. And then I started like creating, assembling my own like sort of synth stuff. And then, in college age, maybe like, 2004, 2003, whatever. you know, you start pulling these things together and figuring it, and you have to figure it out yourself. You know, just got books on MIDI, and like was on like, you know, different, you know, chat rooms and stuff like that, where, you know, we're kind of like, oh, what are you using? Are you using Reason? Okay, yeah, how's that? Blah blah blah. And you know, you start to figure out how to troubleshoot things and get things working in a chain, and you know, the way you want. So that's how, like, sort of, that's like intro to studio figuring out stuff, which led to, you know, studying electronic music in college. Only, it's like we had a track that was like maybe like 3 course classes, and that led to having a job in the recording studio at college, which was doing like live recordings of recitals. And so, you know, it was very like, you know, do or die kind of situation where you get in there, you set up, you know, stereo, pair of mics, you turn off all this, you know, the fans, you set up Pro Tools, and then we had like, you know, make sure you have your backup recordings, and backup recording hardware at that time. And, you know, so that was, you know, that was probably like the resume, first resume point, and just, you know, learning Pro Tools and, you know, QCing and replicating CDs. And so that just turned into an internship at Peerless Mastering, where I work right now. And at the time I was working with Jessica Thompson, and she was actually working here. And then when she moved on to New York, so I was offered the job, and yeah, so then I was doing QC, and then I was eventually, like, you know, assisting in mastering sessions. And then, you know, Jeff was like, all right, this is you just do it. You can do it now. So I'm like, thank God, someone's not breathing down my neck anymore. Okay. But yeah, it took a lot. I felt like it's like a minimum of 5 years to kind of feel like okay about it, and then another 5 years to be okay with it in front of other people.
Yeah.
and yeah, so there it is. Yeah. And I didn't mention, because you were asking about the, you know, what we use, and I'm in, like, got my mastering hat on. It's all pretty much outboard stuff, a combination of analog and digital outboard stuff.
Right.
But anyways.
That's awesome. I feel like that's, yeah. I mean, maybe I'm biased, but the best way to do it is just kind of fall into it. And then, I mean, you know, you're not really forcing it at that point. You know what I mean? You're kind of like, oh, this is kind of where I'm being taken. And either you have an aptitude and you're, you know, drive and an ambition to follow it and do it, or you don't. And
yeah,
you know,
that's exactly it.
I mean, I like that, the meritocracy, rather than, and I feel like audio and vinyl specifically has always been a little bit of a meritocracy, where it's like, put in the work, do the thing, you know, listen, and you can either do it or you can't.
Yeah, right. Or like, and your proclivity for being able to do something that's kind of tedious for hours at a time will be tested.
Yes. And around and around and around.
And you start having dreams. Do you have dreams about it?
Yeah. Oh,
yes. I mean, and like super lucid ones too, where I wake up and I'm like, oh wait, I'm at home.
Yeah.
Hang on. Oh, okay.
But you wake up tired, like you just did a whole night of work.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, because it's not, I mean, and this maybe delves into the, like, the mental health side of like what we do and this whole side of the industry. But like, I like to say that it's not exactly anxiety, because I really love what I do. Yep. It's like that I care so much that I want it to go well. And if I'm behind or if something's not going well, then it really like gets in my grill. And I'm just like, how can I fix this? I don't want to disappoint you. I want this to be perfect. Like, if anybody ever has an issue with one of my records, it's just like, clutch your pearls. I'm devastated. Yeah. And I'm like, what absolutely. Can I do to fix it? Because it happens so rarely that
same.
It's just like, my record? Possibly. No.
I know. Yeah. It used to give me anxiety that I hadn't faced the disaster situation yet. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, after like a few years go by, I'm like, wait, maybe I am okay at this. I don't know. I don't know.
And that's exactly it. Where you're just like, it's kind of a proof of concept, or like, you know, it's a little bit like, oh,
the probability.
I do know what I'm doing. Oh, okay, this is good. Without anybody having to tell you that what you're doing is good. It's like the absence of complaints equals.
Yeah, it's the probability. Yes, you know, it speaks for itself. But yeah, and snafus do come up, but it's never in that disaster way that you had, you know, envisioned. And it's like, oh, okay, I also prove that I can actually take care. If this happens, then, you know, we take care of it this way. It's not a big deal.
And it's funny that that's where like the most learning happens, is when you have those those aspects, right? Like, I mean, that's with any industry, obviously, but especially I find with like gear problems and technological things, like that's where I am really pushed, because that's not my forte usually. But now I'm like, oh, I have to do it. I have to figure it out. There's like nobody else to figure it out. So
I know, it's just you. There's nobody. but I, you know, that's why, and I always feel like people who are like the best teachers or mentors, like, you know, it's the best is when you have like an intern or whatever and something fails horribly, and then they're like, and then, you know, the intern is like, oh no, this is a disaster, like I'm gonna get yelled at, and then, you know, you're like, this is a disaster, but hey, it's okay, we're gonna do this and this and this, like let's deal with the problem in a productive manner. And not get all emotional.
I mean, if you're gonna do anything well, you gotta care about it. And if there's anybody that can care without being emotional about it, like I don't. No. I don't think those.
I mean, it's like
that's not a thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, anytime anybody's like,
caring.
you're too close to this or whatever, I'm like, damn right I am. I spent 90 hours with that record.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like a child at that point. So
it's inevitable.
Yeah, absolutely. Has there been any artist that you got keyed to because of doing the work that you do, that you were like, ooh, I had no idea. Oh, and now I'm a super fan?
I got an EP like years ago from you know, a manager in Australia, and the band is called Vancouver Sleep Clinic, and I'm like, this is good, like I would actually listen to this.
Love that.
So
as a Canadian, I appreciate it when people use my countrymen as names.
What kind of music is it?
It's like it's sort of like synth indie, kind of, I don't want to say dream pop, but it's okay. In that vein.
You can say,
and then I think it's but more on the like the synthy end of things. And then I had the reverse happen, which is also in the sort of the synthy dream pop genre, where I really liked an artist, and then one of the, you know, a project from them came through just like at random. So that artist is washed out. You probably heard, like, if anyone ever watched Portlandia, like that song that's at the beginning is washed out.
Oh, okay.
And
awesome. I was like, are you being shady right now? And is washed out. Like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I know. It's washed. I mean, it does describe the sound as well. And embrace it. Yeah.
Is there a record that you can share that is out and that is public knowledge that you can share that you're super proud of being a part of?
Yeah, and this sounds super fake, but like I actually just got one shipped from the label today. Oh no, well actually the other day, and it's right here.
In the shrink. I love it.
How perfect is that?
I just opened it. It's from the Numero groups. And
oh, that's beautiful.
It's Pastor T.L. Barrett. I Shall Wear a Crown, and it just encompasses the it's five LPs.
Wow.
We don't even include CDs anymore, and a booklet, and a couple, most of them are LP replicas. So we would actually, the source was the LP, and transferred it, went through the the digitization process and the cleanup and the remastering, and and then back onto back on the vinyl with the original artwork and everything. And then and then we have there are all these like these extras of singles that are more obscure and this. And then I was actually surprised to find that he's become pretty popular lately because Kanye and artists like Kanye and then actually like Foster the People like have sampled a lot of his stuff, a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
So, and like Leon Bridges did a cover of Like a Ship. So it's become a pretty popular song. So yeah, pretty proud of that.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
awesome.
actually like listening to it. So
Oh, that's great.
and he's still alive. So
I like when they can use the original art too. And really
Yeah,
like bring
totally.
the whole thing together. That's cool.
yeah, no, yeah, and there's like a lot of scholarship and stuff that went into writing the liner notes, and it's just it just tells a story, just about like sort of this part of history
Yeah.
and society. So
How much of a part do you play in that side of it, if anything? Like, are you helping with writing the liner notes with the scholarship aspect and the archival part?
no, yeah, I am completely on the blind side of that.
Yeah.
Like they just send us the audio, and then half of the time I don't even know. Like I wouldn't even recognize it if I saw it. Like, saw the package.
That's how I feel too.
So you
Oh,
never.
is that what that looked? Is that what that wound up being looked like? Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Oh, so you never see the artwork or anything either?
It depends. There's sometimes that I get pleasantly surprised. I've been doing some work with this really rad label from San Diego. Shout out to Paper Street, and I did a 7-inch record, and I just cut a bunch of clear ones or a bunch of black ones, I can't even remember, and then sent them off. And then they were all single-sided, and he put Fun Fur on the back, like on the B side. So they were like A-sided records, and then the B-side had like fur on it, and like the art was like a cat head with a cowboy hat on it, and like the song was called Tumbleweeds, and yeah, so there was like that kind of weirdness, which I was totally into. There's people that silk screen the B-sides. Right now I'm doing a collab with my friend Waxmage in Cleveland, and I'm doing single side cuts and B-side hand etching. So I'm hand etching whales onto the B-side of a clear 10-inch record.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I have one of those right here.
Like by hand etching, are you really like drawing this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is.
I don't know
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but that's crazy.
But yeah, so that's kind of part of the fun stuff that I get to do because my quantities are so much smaller. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I get to do jackets and fun labels and stuff and put it all together with these two little hands, which is sometimes good and sometimes bad.
Yeah. It's like, your hands. It's like my hands made this. That's kind of creepy.
Single one. Yeah.
How's my demon? It's been touched by me, literally. Yeah.
My fingerprints are under all of these labels.
I would love to get a fuzzy record. It's like its own slip mat on the other side.
Yeah, I'll see if he's got some extra ones, and I'll see if
especially
I can send you one.
with two cat ladies here, we need to find.
Oh yeah. You want to see my cat?
Oh yeah, of course.
Wake up. Time for your close up.
Definitely sleepy face.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So
Afternoon.
cute.
It's deep sleep hour.
Oh, I love it. So I know we don't want to keep you too long. So we do
Appreciate
have one question that we usually try to ask our guests, which is if you could create a split 7-inch with any song on the A side and any song on the B side, what you would choose?
Oh. That's kind of a tricky question because it's not just like what was my what song do I want on a barren island because it has to be kind of like optimized for a 7-inch play
That's such a
time.
mastering thought process.
And like how much bass do I want to have on the island? And like kind of like a lot, so it has to be a really short song.
It doesn't have to have a label, so you can have all the land is there. All the land
Best
is available.
thought process yet.
That's funny. I actually have a list of like, you know, songs to play if I'm in a coma. Hopefully somebody, now that I put it out in the world, like you'll know, like go in my, I think I even have it shared in public on my Apple Music account, just in case.
That's amazing.
So if I'm in a coma, maybe these will wake me up. Yes, I don't know. Sorry, I'm taking a long time.
No, it's fine.
This is totally worth it.
I think about this very seriously.
I think that's going to be on like a new question for me to ask people. If you're in a coma, what song would you think would wake you? Or like what song would you like to come back to consciousness to?
Okay. Well, you know, everyone's gonna laugh, but I probably would have Hold on My Heart by Genesis on one side, and then Irene by Beach House on the other side.
So good.
But without the secret song at the end, which makes it like 15 minutes long. Like that's the worst. I hate that.
Definitely couldn't make that on a 7-inch. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's all like silence, but you know, just the actual main song part. Yeah, actually, that would be a good single.
That's great.
Awesome.
I
love it.
That's
but you can
awesome.
cut the high end to make it bassier if you want.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
awesome. Well, thank you. I know
All
you
right.
have another
Thank you
panel
so
to
much,
get
Maria.
to.
It was so good to meet you. I hope to talk to you further on the internet.
Yes.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, this was great. This was fun.
Good.
I'm taking a screenshot. Bye.
Have a great day.
All right, have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
So this is the outro for episode 18 of the Women in Vinyl podcast with Maria Rice, restoration and mastering. And she works out of Peerless Mastering. That's peerlessmastering.com. Check it out. See if you can keep up with her schedule. I don't know how she does it. She's done so many amazing things. Whew. Thank you to our friend and November Women in Vinyl blog feature, Cass Beau, for the use of their song Waterfront. Thanks, Cass. We have so many sponsors to tell you about, and you know what? They're all relevant, so buckle up. We want to send a huge thank you to other record labels. Our code is still kicking over at otherrecordlabels.com/store. Code is WIV50. That gets you a hot 50% off in their store. Maybe you're a band and you want to be better at budgeting, or you want to understand how to plan your release better. You know, go over there. Scott's got all kinds of things to help you be better at running your band, your label, you know, your friend's band as a more professional little entity. You know, save your pennies. Every little bit helps. Check out Selector with a K, our favorite record bag. Oh man, so comfortable, so spacious, handmade, hand-stitched, so many colors, so many sizes. They've got a bag for you. I can tell you, it's incredible. Check out Selector, the Selector, that's with a K.com/US for the English site. And you guys, don't be like me. Organize your records. Sleek, sophisticated, handmade record collection organization can be yours at Koppel. Koppel Designs. $10 off your first order of $85 or more. Use the code Women in Vinyl at checkout. KOEPPEL design.com. Handmade, women owned. She was one of the very first features on the Women in Vinyl blog. Head over and check it out. You won't be disappointed. You can organize by alphabet. You can organize by genre. You can make up your own classifications. But yeah, treat your records better than I do. Give them some love and, you know, put them in nice little categories. Also, take care of your ears. Hang out with Eargasm. High fidelity earplugs. Keep your hearing protected in style. They gave us a discount code Women in Vinyl. How convenient. At eargasm.com. Also, our friends at Glowtronics have also given us a 15% off code till the end of the year. That's coming up, so don't sleep on it. They make custom slip mats. You know it. You love the Women in Vinyl custom slip mat already, but you could put your dog's face on it. You could put your best friend's face on it. Play your favorite record with your best friend to support it. Put your mom's face on it. Glowtronics has given us a 15% off code till the end of the year. That's Women in Vinyl at glowtronics-store.com. Don't sleep. The end of the year is rapidly approaching. And as always, join the conversation on Instagram or send us a note or a correction or fact check. Or maybe you just want me to hear your song. Maybe you want to pitch your song to us for use on the Women in Vinyl podcast. Hit us up at media@womeninvinyl.com. Check out womeninvinyl.com for past episodes, for the store, the job board, and our library, our growing library of resources. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a review on your favorite podcast delivery method. We really need your help getting the word out to as many people as possible so that we can keep our sponsors and ads as relevant to you guys as we can. So give us a review and help us out. You can also contribute to furthering our mission at www.patreon.com/womeninvinyl, where you will find all of the B-sides, the deep cuts, and the amazing extras, and help us start a not-for-profit to further the demystification, the education, and infiltration of more women and non-binary identifying people into the vinyl making space. Don't forget, November is Trans Awareness Month, and trans rights are human rights. Thanks again for joining us for the Women in Vinyl podcast.
This episode has been brought to you by Women in Vinyl and Red Spade Records. Thank you for listening. Please remember to subscribe, and you can always contact us directly by visiting www.womeninvinyl.com.